See what that, thank you. We will see what that actually, how that actually ends up playing out. We will see if money ever comes back. It's a big mess that is, as usual, going to affect agriculture in a number of ways, including inputs coming into the country. Tie that with the executive order issued about the national security issues related to synthetics, including glyphosate and synthetic nitrous, synthetics going into our soil. That has yet to be challenged. Everyone is the general assumption is that that has to do with the fact that they didn't think the Farm Bill would pass. The Farm Bill continues to include a provision on pesticide liability for companies, as well as pesticide labeling laws saying that states can only label pesticides based off what the EPA says. And we all know the EPA is rapidly deregulating and throwing out evidence about the impact of certain chemicals, which could then change how they are labeled on the market. So those two pieces really go together in a big way. We are continuing to see how that plays out. We'll get to Farm Bill in a minute. And then the third piece is just that we've started a new war in the Middle East. And that is, of course, affecting lots of things, including oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz, which is shut down, being sent with mines are being planted there, ships are not getting out. Apparently, the US military escorted one ship out today, but it costs a couple $1 billion every time we do that. So it doesn't seem like a practical way to keep oil flowing. So farmers are going to see gas prices going up just as work gets really heavily started in the field, which is never, ever a good thing. That to say, we will keep tracking all of this. If you guys see any of this or see how it's affecting you, as always, send us articles, send us notes. We're really interested in how this is not only hitting people, but how it's being perceived. We know the war is not popular and it is becoming less so, so we will see how that goes. That was a lot. Any other non-Farm Bill related news anybody wants to drop into this call just to keep us updated on what is whatting right now?
This is sort of ends up becoming Farm Bill
That's
related.
okay, Jeff. We'll let it slide.
Um, but because of the war in Iran, and they want to do another $50 billion, I think it is,
Hmm.
for DoD spending, there's some talk of including another round of farm bailout payments in that as
Okay.
an extra incentive. I have also heard rumors that they might try to do E15 attached to that. And then
Okay.
they might also try to attach the skinny farm bill to that. Um, I've heard they could do all of
Interesting.
them. I've heard they could do one of them. Uh, but this is an effort to kind of whip votes in favor of this broad package. Um, right? You might not support the war, but you'd feel political pressure to support money for farmers. Plus,
Yeah.
it would limit amendments
Hmm.
on those pieces.
So that's focused on the Senate side, Jeff, to try to get the 60 votes.
That'd be on the House side too.
Oh, the House side too. Okay.
They want to limit floor amendments and rules, and by just bringing it straight through, they could do that.
Is there any indication that the Senate would just adopt the House Farm Bill to move that forward?
I don't know.
Okay.
Again, we can get into this when we get into the
Yeah.
Farm Bill. Um, but the Senate is way behind and has kind of
Hmm.
been waiting to see what the House has done. I don't think that it's a good idea. Um, and I think the Senate is probably in agreement that it's a bad idea to do a skinny farm bill alongside all these other monetary requests. But I
Hmm.
could see them doing money for farmers, money for war. Uh,
Yeah.
the two classics.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for that, Jeff. Anything else, friends? Graham, I know you guys have been sending out some great stuff from Nebraska and your updates. That's all super cool. Anything else happening state level that we should have on our radar?
I just wanted to note that the Attorney General candidate on the Democratic side had a big call out for the Nebraska's participation and leadership against the California labeling of glyphosate. And
Mhm.
I just wanted to like point you all to Brasher for Nebraska AG.
Mhm.
Jocelyn Brasher is her name, and see the statement that she put out. It was really good. I had a chance to help with her, kind of navigate some of that as well. But we're talking about protecting farmers and consumers' health, over foreign monopolies. Is kind of like what the messaging is around, and it's refreshing because we haven't had anything like that. And of course, our AG right now is someone who's been working for the industry to try to allow them to kind of do business as usual at the stake of our health.
I know it's early, Graham, but how are her polling numbers looking? Is there a chance she
I
could?
have no idea what
Okay.
her polling numbers are. The AG currently is unpopular because the state voted in um, 70 to 30 for medicinal cannabis as well as paid sick leave. So two ballot initiatives that
Mhm.
were overwhelming, and he's blocked both of them. So
Oh,
on both of those fronts, there's a lot of people that are extremely upset at him. And she worked for him at the Nebraska Attorney General's office, and I just saw too much.
yeah.
She had a private, career in the few years after she left there, but she's a young woman who is running for all the right reasons and an up and comer, and there's some excitement brewing around her, but I have no idea about specific
Okay.
polling. She just made her announcement within the last 3 weeks,
Gotcha.
probably.
Cool. Yeah, keep us posted. We love seeing a lot of exciting candidates realizing that we have to start at the state and local levels to change these things. So super exciting. Anything, Lily, anything you guys are tracking at Landcore we should have on our radar? I mean, you're tracking your monthly tracker is so good. So,
Yes, there will be a bill tracker alert coming out
mm,
potentially next week. Sorry, of course, I'm getting some messages right now. There will be a bill tracker alert coming out next week, which should have some interesting stuff. We're trying to weed through what amendments were offered in the Farm Bill markup, House Farm Bill markup,
mhm.
and kind of see how soil health showed up in there. So that's on our docket. But yeah, I think more of the same. There's a lot happening in the world, and I think everything you mentioned, uh, tracking as well, and concerned. Yeah.
Uh,
Awesome.
I was just gonna add, since you mentioned
Yeah.
states, on the state kind of failure to warn pesticide front, um, there are a few states that are moving on bills. Both Kentucky and Kansas are considering failure to warn bills, similar to what Georgia and North Dakota passed last year, essentially removing, tort cases under state courts. So Kansas, Kentucky are considering bills. Missouri, I believe, had a hearing today on
Mhm.
theirs, and I haven't heard anything about that. Um, those are the big ones. Iowa passed theirs out of their state senate, and it's currently being held in the House. And then Oklahoma has bills introduced, but are currently being held. Um, so I haven't heard anything else happening at the state level on those failure to warn pesticide bills.
Awesome.
I wanted
And
to
Jeff,
note
oh,
too. I'm
no,
sorry.
go for it, Graham.
We had so there was a Senator Barry DeKay, Republican from Northeast Nebraska, a little bit northeast of the farm. He dropped a bill this year after his aides visited our farm tour, and it creates a small Northeast Nebraska soil health hub, which we can be able to, if we can find funding, to be able to drop money in there to do programming to help educate farmers essentially, and then our water districts, which are called natural resources districts. He also had a bill that would clarify that they can work on soil health, which to us it seems like this all goes together, but we had to clarify that in state law. That bill is going to the governor for signature pretty soon, and so it's kind of wonky in how it's worded, but it's a step in the right direction for us.
Awesome. All right. If anybody thinks of anything else, please feel free, drop it in the chat, drop links, or we'll have more time later on for questions and general engagement. So let's talk about everybody's favorite piece of overdue federal legislation, which is the Farm Bill. There we go. So we have one, which is a fun place to be in. It passed out of House Ag Committee last week. Before Jeff's great updates, the last thing that Chairman Thompson and Speaker Johnson had said was before Easter. So Easter is like the second week in April this year, so about a month until then. As I mentioned, the pesticide liability shield remains, as well as pesticide labeling and the Save Our Bacon Act, which is in response to California Prop 17. Um, so that, focusing on humane treatment of animals across state lines. Democrats did try to amend our on SNAP, on permanent scholarships for 1829 universities, which apparently we call them that and not HBCUs anymore. Sure, why not? And then improving the appeals process for USDA funds if you're ruled ineligible. So all of those pieces did not make it through. Before March 27th. Maybe they'll pass the Farm Bill on my birthday. That would suck. Good to know. Thanks, Jeff. They go out 2 weeks before Easter. God, we should all run for Congress, guys. It'd be a good time.
Don't work on Mondays, don't work on Fridays.
I remember begging members to stay in their office and finish actual work before fleeing to the airport. So we've all been traumatized by that. Again, waiting to see what the Senate says. Bozeman says they can pass a farm bill in an election year. Okay, Bozeman. If you can pull it off, great. But he has set no timeline, and Angie Craig has indicated incredible opposition to what's in the current farm bill. So any additional intel anybody gets or timelines, anything like that, please share. We are all tracking this. There's not much to, would love to hear what else anybody else has to say. I know, you guys, it's so exciting, right? So one quick thing. So I was at Expo West last week, which is always a cacophony of insanity, but the team from OTA, Tom and Matt Dillon, gave a great presentation. Their prediction is that we will not see a farm bill until maybe 27 and more likely 29 after the presidential. So, and that's they did have a couple of organic amendments that were added to the bill, which is fantastic. So we'll see. I don't think we're allowed to bet on politics anymore, so we'll have to see how that fields out, but that's the state of play on the Farm Bill. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Erica and Aisha to talk about the letter.
Yeah. We talked about this last meeting and I think even maybe a little bit the meeting before that, but just with the challenges of getting things through Congress these days, like thinking about what kind of messaging do we want to give to USDA, and then with the regenerative agriculture pilot that came out in December, we felt like it would be a good time to give them some recommendations. Not knowing necessarily everything about that program, and that there's sort of vague details that we've been able to find about it. Hearing some conflicting reports from the field from farmers applying, and so we thought this would be a good time to kind of underscore some key issues that we all care about. And and thank you so much for everybody who got in there. We had a bunch of farmers that we spoke with on the phone, and some added directly. We had some of you all on here today that really weighed in and contributed different parts to it. It was very long. We tried to cut it back. It's still 4 pages. It's still probably too long. But I drop the link to the sign-on form, which has then within that has the link to the letter if anybody wants to, if anybody hasn't had a chance to check it out. But we just barely sent the sign-on form last night. Jess sent it out in an email, and I don't think we really have any responses outside of any who's already in this group. So if anybody does have any like final like changes that they want to make, now is the time. And then from there, really just talking about how we can disseminate this and try to get a good sign on. Jess has got a lot of farmers that she's going to be reaching out to and some brands. But we would absolutely love to try to really get this around and get organizations signing on. So first, any feedback, thoughts about the letter, any pressing, anything that needs to change. I know that I just had a call with Ryland Engelhart from American Regeneration, who does that organization with Kelly Ryerson. And their only response, they thought the letter was great, and their only response was like, maybe in the framing, don't hit the environmental side so hard and kind of weave in a little bit more about national security and health, the things that they, claim to care about, and not so like the environmental side. But anyway, open the floor. Love your thoughts, feedback, questions.
I'd just say that Jimmy Emmons came and spoke at Green Cover Seeds Nexus event in Omaha recently and was touting how they were making the government more efficient, so it should make these programs easier to be a part of. But on the other hand, we're seeing the lack of staff, and that they're not going to be equipped to handle the volumes. And just like in our area in Burt County, because I've gone in and talked to some of the agents there, they have had a tremendous outpouring of interest in the program. So that's encouraging, but it doesn't appear there's staff to really field that. And I think Jimmy's kind of got some of this backwards. Personally, is my feeling. So I just wanted to pass along. That's kind of how they're narrating that to the masses across the country.
Yeah, thanks for that insight, Graham. And I think some of the things we heard, we were hearing different things from some of the farmers we spoke with. Aisha spoke with Yadi Wong from Arizona, who I know you know, Graham, and others know. And he was saying that his office said that you had to sign up for both EQIP and CSP at the same time to get into this program. But then another farmer was saying they only had to do EQIP. So
We just had to do equip because I did
yeah,
fill that
so
out. And so I transferred my equip that wasn't graded out, the last time, and that supposedly made me eligible. And then, they're talking about the whole field stuff, which is cool, but thought they'd get back to me by March, and I haven't heard anything, back. So it's still kind of dragging their feet on,
yeah,
being able to let us know, what's next or whatnot.
yeah. Well, our, staffing was obviously the biggest concern, and we probably could have screamed that across all the pages. We tried to kind of make the point clearly, especially around that whole farm planning. I mean, I don't know if that many NRCS staff really know how to do and whole farm planning, and then when you add TSPs into the mix and all those things. So yeah, thanks for that insight. Hopefully Jimmy Emmons will read this letter.
Well, if we need to make sure, I'll shoot it to him.
Okay, that'd be great, Graham. Yeah. I mean, Perry, question
Yes,
or
thanks.
comment?
Good meeting. I just wondered if there was a way to pique readers' interest with a cover memo that would highlight the key points, and then somehow wrap that national security messaging into that. Um, but I don't know how the letter is submitted. But because it's so long, just to say, well, here's what we're going to tell you with the key points might be a way of getting people to start to read it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we have like a little bit of an intro, but we didn't have like a full executive summary. I mean, I think this is a probably fairly standard format for a letter to USDA. It may be a little too long, perhaps, but and hopefully it's not too detailed.
That's fair. You know best. And I think you guys did an amazing job. And especially, getting it from 18 to 4 pages, that's really challenging. So congratulations on that. I hope it really goes well. And I hope that we can disseminate it further.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would appreciate that support with that, Perry. Any other thoughts on the letter? Ideas for sending it around? Bets on if they'll even read it?
Dago, you have your hand up?
Oh, Dago.
Well, they'll at least have their AI read it. I'm curious. This is my first time I heard of this, and actually my Google AI started to summarize it for me. But I'm just curious what engagement looked like with, if any, with like anyone on the inside with NRCS, anyone that is providing perhaps some insights into like some leverage points and things to focus on, or I'm just curious, like where I know a lot of work went into this, but I'm just
Yeah, I mean
wondering what that's looked like.
it's a great question, and we had been hearing for gosh, a good part of last year that they were doing this big thing within USDA, and people that even knew people on the inside weren't necessarily didn't really kind of know. So we felt like the development of it was a bit of a black box. And I think that the key person in there would probably be Jimmy Emmons, that people have direct access to, Graham, but and many other, the farmers that we know. And so, that seems like a viable path, maybe, to share it with Jimmy and see if he has questions, and, talking through, maybe he'd come back and he'd say, okay, like this is a lot. You're giving us a lot of recommendations here. And, is there one thing out of this that you feel is like essential? Or like, I don't know. I don't know what that conversation would be. And Graham, since you've been connected with him, or if others know him on the call, yeah, thinking strategically how that could go, right? Because a letter it can go nowhere. And but if there is some kind of pathway for more of a strategic conversation, and I think that's what you're asking, Dago. Yeah. No, it's a really good question. I don't think we really have thought through that, to be honest. Like, I mean, we knew that would be an ideal situation, is to figure out how to have that. And I think we were trying to, people that last year as they were developing it were like trying to find pathways just into even that conversation, and didn't have any success. So Graham, I don't know if you have any other thoughts there.
I feel like it's a little bit guarded, but I know Jimmy's trying to do the best job he can specifically, and so, we might as well like utilize like that channel just to get information in front of him. I mean, I'd be personally willing to ask him like if there wanted to be a small group to find a time to chat with them somewhere in between his busy schedule. I feel like he would make that happen, and he's also popping across the country. He's a good spokesperson, for efforts there, and so. I would think that there could be some more opportunities to pop in and see him directly, and meet him in spaces where he is from
That'd be
people
great.
like across this big network.
Yeah. And I think if we were to get a conversation with him, we'd probably want to get a few farmers talking with him about, what are some of the key issues that they're either seeing directly on the ground or just suggestions that they have. Of course, we really highlighted education in this letter, and that's just something that was really left out of the Regen Ag pilot. So, would love to have a conversation with Jimmy around what are they doing in terms of getting NRCS, more educated, getting the TSPs educated, and then also providing good educational resources to farmers on, on biological soil health, all the different components. All right, well, let's stay in touch about that, Graham, and we can strategize a little bit. And Rick Clark had weighed in on this letter. I don't know if I imagine he's in touch with Jimmy. I don't know what other farmers. Jess, you said Adam knows Jimmy. Adam Chappell.
Yeah,
And
sorry, lost my mute button. Yeah, I think is Jenny still on the call? I don't think so. I think Will's connected into him, so we've got some heavy hitters who can get into him.
yeah. And the Oklahoma Connect is Erin Martin.
Yeah.
She's, they're
You know
really
her
close.
well.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion too. Okay. All right. Well, that can maybe be sort of our next, hopefully we can get this out. I mean, we need to get endorsements. Dago, you still have your hand up. Did you still have something? And then Lily has her hand up too. Nope. Okay. I figured you were driving, so maybe you just still had it up. Lily?
Hi. This is just a really quick point, but when I was reading through the letter this morning, one thing that came to mind is at Landcorp, like a lot of the language we use is around like cost savings as opposed to like additional costs and additional funding needed. And the idea that like these incentives and these practices should just be like built into the existing programs. Like, I think that's something that could maybe come through a little bit more. And in our, when we present it to someone like Jimmy or any of the folks we've talked about, like the idea that this is not asking for additional money. This is not asking for a new pool, and rather just a better allocation and a better streamlining of the funding that's already been given. I'm not sure if that totally makes sense, but it's just something that came to mind.
Yeah. And I think most of our recommendations aren't asking, they're not
totally
that this was USDA. We weren't asking Congress for money, right? So most of it's just like what they have the authority to do.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just to underscore that a bit more, I think might be nice. And that could be maybe done in sort of just a little bit of a rework of the intro. I don't think we'll change the rest of the suggestions just because we are getting some people signing on, but not many. So I think that's a great point. I was just about to say something on outreach. Yeah, I mean, at this point, we would hope, let me see, when did we say that sign on letter, March 23rd, which is like 2 weeks or 1 week, gosh, where are we? Yeah, that's like the end of, okay, so that's like a little less than 2 weeks. So we really want to try to push this out. And then maybe then when we come, hopefully we'll have more of a strategy around trying to actually see if we can get a conversation with Jimmy by then. But in the very least, by the next meeting, hopefully we'll have that strategy in place and can start working on that. And then we'll know more maybe about a farm bill or not. Anything else on the letter or anything else in general? We had sort of a short agenda today, so we can give you all back some time. But if there are things, thank you, Aria, for sharing that. Yeah, getting the letter out. If everybody could just, for one, sign it if you can on behalf of your organization or your farm. And if everybody could, send it as round, and I know Jess will send it out to as many people as possible as well. But I think that yeah, getting a good number signed on with, especially with farmers. I think having some businesses sign on too would be really, like some CPG brands and whatnot would be really terrific as well. Carolina.
I can't tell you how hard it was not to say Yimi Paneta when we were doing it in Spanish.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Well, that's good to know. Awesome. Thanks, Liza. That's really, really terrific. Appreciate that.
Speaking of funny things in Spanish, I hope you've all seen the video of AOC helping Mayor Mamdani. He was trying to do a message in Spanish, and it's very amusing. I highly recommend Googling it and having a little giggle that there are elected leaders doing fun things.
Nice.
The fun part about sorry, I'm not on camera because I look mental. I'm a campaign manager now for a New York State Senate run, and we're
Of
working with
course you are.
AOC a lot. I know, yeah. We're working with AOC a lot, so I'm kicking it with her pretty often, which is always entertaining.
Amazing. That's great, Carolina.
It's fun, but I'm working all the time, so that's why you're not going to get to see me now because I look mental.
Look and feel mental, I'm sure. That's campaigns are crazy. Yeah. So anything else? We're happy to jump off early. If anybody else has any final updates they didn't get a chance to share. Questions, fun things going on in your life. We need all the joy we can.
I guess that I would note, since nobody else is, like, data centers is becoming a huge conversation in Nebraska. Um, the water consumption, the increase in electric rates, and just not having enough energy to do these. The eminent domain on farmland, and farmers, and it's getting out of control really fast. And, I know there's some good things with AI. I'm gonna have robots on the farm that are weed cutters this year with them, but I just, like, we got to rein that in somehow better. It will expedite all the issues that we're having if this isn't a more focused conversation across the country. So I have big concerns with what's going on, and the Omaha metro area is just getting bombarded by them. Like, we're one of the, like, I guess it's going on everywhere, but we're a big state with that. And then conceptually, we developed a bill this year that got some kind of interesting encouragement in a bipartisan fashion to come back this year. It's a short session, so first time they heard the concept. But instead of, like, trying to charge the state government for funds, because it's always just so tough to do that, those that are classified as large concentrated animal feeding operations would have to register nutrient management plans with the state. That's the only thing the state would have to do, is record them, so their publics, our water districts, can see where the waste is being applied, and two standards where the waste is applied, just under those, for those large designated waste applicators. Whoever filed the nutrient management plan would have to pay for cover crops and buffer strips. So that's a GC resolve bill. We wrote that, and had a urban senator that wanted to help on water and regenerative ag, and that's a kind of a through line transitional program to get us there without taxing the state, essentially. And because we did it that way, yeah, we might have a shot to get it active next year. And so it's interesting, but there is a little bit of a populist sentiment coming around, not like Trump populism, but like, the big guys should have to pay because they're leading to the damages type of mentality, which maybe has given us a window to start to tax them instead, just around standard-based things, to stop the water contamination that's going on and help farmers start to learn how to use these practices simultaneously.
Very cool, Graham. Keep us
Yeah.
posted. That's really amazing if that could make its way through.
Mhm.
It's crazy that that's like revolutionary. Like
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, but I mean, between where Graham and I, where he lives now and where I grew up, that's like Cumming County, the beef capital of the country. Like that's on their literal billboards when you drive past.
Yeah. Yeah, so and it's an extremely contaminated watershed that a few of the conservative districts that she's talking about, that county is right in between us and these folks represent that area. And then just a side announcement outside the AG announcement, I'm going to run for the water district for that troubled Elkhorn River watershed. So Lower Elkhorn Natural Resource District. So I don't know how much time I'll have to run this all-out campaign, but the guy that just is running there just wants to kind of protect his big farm and punch as many, allow for, unlimited tapping of our water resources through for irrigation purposes. And, that's not a good solution for kind of the future. So trying to take the message into farmers have the solutions, through regenerative ag principles and practices. And so hopefully we'll be able to continue to make more of these cases. And I can kind of sidewind into these efforts with some of the legislature, which with that bill, I got the water districts to split this year. And that was a huge deal because they usually clump together against these things. And so that gives us some momentum, hopefully going into next year. So I'm excited. We'll see what happens.
Nice. Good momentum. Love it. Good luck on the your water district seat run. It's great. Anything else? Go to the order. Sure, folks wouldn't mind getting a little time back in their day. So yeah, be in touch if anybody has any thoughts. And if anybody ever also has like cool thing you're working on that you want to share at one of these meetings, let us know. We're like very
Please do.
flexible with the agenda. Like Mad Ag. I know you have so much going on, Elizabeth. Everybody's doing cool work. So love to hear updates.
All right, I'll throw out there. And fine, you get to see that I showered and washed my hair and didn't do anything with it. The people's budget equity for New York State. There's actually
Ooh.
some really amazing ag stuff in here
Wow.
that it's, yeah, which is, I'm like, federal stuff is, I don't even know if there's anything like going to happen, anything there, but there's some really great stuff about beginning farmers. Farm to school reimbursement incentive program, investing in urban ag and emerging farmers, farmland access and next generation farmers. Which is exciting because this is like the BPHA caucus, the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Legislative Caucus, and they are recognizing these needs, which is very, very cool. We'll see if Kathy Hochul will admit that these are good ideas and throw some money that way. We'll see.
And is that available
I know
online?
too much, Lily. I know too much, by the way. Like you're like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Ho, I could dash all your dreams, but yeah. So just throwing that out there. I personally am very excited to see that because this is like the fact that they see that as equity is really, really exciting.
That's great. And is that available online or just hard copy?
It very well might be.
Google it. I wrote the title down. I'll check it out.
Yeah, the People's Budget Equity 34 of the BPHA caucus. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for
Which
sharing that.
theoretically, when this campaign is over, I'm going to get to work on some of this stuff with a staffer who my candidates, she's in the assembly now. One of her staffers was a state FFA officer for the state of New York.
Nice.
Wild. So we've actually talked about pairing up because he knows the assembly ag chair. I know the Senate ag chair. And we're like, after we get her to win, let's do this.
Make some magic there in New York. Nice. Perry, you just added it would be great to know from members of this group the ag bills you want to see passed and opposed. Oh, in your state. So specific to states. Yeah, I mean, I know Dago does a lot of the tracking of the state bills. but yeah, I mean, it'd be great to just continue to share about those state updates on this call. It's really helpful. All right, folks. Jess, think we're wrapping up early? Or
Go stand in the sunshine, get a coffee, try to pet a bird. That's what I've been doing all morning. They're nesting in my backyard. It's amazing. I'm determined to make them my friends. Um, I already have the crows on my side because I feed them, so that's working out really well for me. But yeah, do something silly for 15 minutes, 14 minutes, and then go back to work. All right. Bye,
much,
friends.
everyone.
I
Enjoy the day.